In this session, you'll understand how industry standards influence investigative processes, what your role is as a security leader during such inquiries, and how to align your security practices to meet the expectations of audits, assessments, and third-party reviews driven by standards, not just regulations or law. Industry standards are published frameworks or best practice guidelines developed by respected institutions or consortiums. They aren't always legally binding, but they often serve as the baseline for demonstrating maturity, trust, and accountability in your security program. When organizations fail to align with these standards, it can lead to failed audits, lost certifications, or damaged credibility. For example, if your organization processes credit cards, you're expected to comply with PCI DSS. If you offer cloud services to enterprises, alignment with ISO 27001 or the CSA Cloud Controls Matrix may be required by clients. While investigations tied to industry standards typically don't lead to lawsuits or criminal charges, they carry serious business implications. As a security leader, you need to understand that your ability to meet these expectations directly affects your organization's credibility, trustworthiness, and market opportunities. One of the most common triggers is a certification audit, such as an ISO 27001 surveillance assessment. You're expected to demonstrate that your policies, controls, and documentation align with the standard's requirements. A failed audit can mean losing your certification, which may jeopardize customer trust or market eligibility. You may also face third-party risk assessments initiated by clients evaluating your suitability as a vendor or service provider. In these cases, you must provide verifiable evidence of your security posture, such as completed risk assessments, security reports, or control attestations. Your ability to respond accurately and confidently influences whether clients will move forward with or renew your partnership. Internal compliance reviews can also prompt investigations. These are opportunities to validate that your security program is operating as intended. Gaps or inconsistencies found here can damage your internal credibility and signal broader weaknesses when external audits occur. Finally, customer security questionnaires or contract renewals often include detailed questions about how your organization aligns with frameworks like NIST, ISO, or SOC 2. Your answers must be accurate, evidence-based, and reflect your actual practices. Anything less can result in lost deals or broken trust. If you fail to meet the expectations of these standards, the consequences can include denied certifications, lost contracts, or even terminated partnerships. That's why it's essential to treat industry standards not as checklists, but as strategic drivers of trust, maturity, and operational excellence. As a security leader, your role during a standards-driven audit or investigation is to demonstrate that your security program is not only effective, but also traceable, explainable, and aligned with best practices. Here's how you should approach your responsibilities. Start by preparing documentation and artifacts that prove your program is functioning as intended. You need to gather and present items like security policies, system configurations, audit logs, incident response records, and evidence of vulnerability assessments. These artifacts provide the foundation that auditors use to verify your controls. Next, focus on explaining your security controls in a business context. It's not enough to say a control exists. You must be able to explain why it exists and how it supports your organization's goals or risk profile. Translate technical measures into clear, outcome-based justifications that align with the business strategy. You're also responsible for identifying and remediating gaps when your existing controls don't fully meet the requirements of the standard. You'll need to lead efforts to assess where improvements are needed, build remediation plans, and track your team's progress toward closing those gaps, all while ensuring documentation reflects the journey. When it comes to facilitating third-party assessments, you'll often be the face of the security program. Whether you're answering a client's due diligence questionnaire or guiding an ISO auditor through your environment, you must ensure that every answer is consistent, evidence-based, and defensible. Finally, make it your mission to maintain continuous compliance. Don't wait for an audit to get organized. Build a culture where compliance is integrated into daily operations by automating evidence collection, reviewing controls regularly, and keeping your documentation updated and accessible year-round. As you navigate standards-based investigations or audits, you'll likely encounter several challenges that test your preparation and clarity. Recognizing these early helps you build a stronger, more resilient security program. You may face misalignment between policy and practice, where what's written in your documentation doesn't match what actually happens on the ground. Auditors will spot this quickly, so you need to ensure your operational controls reflect the intent and language of your policies. Another challenge is lack of documentation for informal controls. In many organizations, security teams rely on verbal agreements, tribal knowledge, or undocumented routines. During an audit, these controls don't count unless you can prove they exist and show how they work. You must formalize what's being done and ensure it's recorded. You might also struggle with over-reliance on tools without clear governance. Just because you have a security solution in place doesn't mean it's configured correctly or monitored effectively. Auditors will expect to see not just the tool, but the governance framework behind it. That includes policies, oversight, and ownership. Lastly, expect difficulty explaining risk-based decisions to auditors, especially if those decisions deviate from what the standard prescribes. You must be ready to justify your approach in terms of business needs, threat models, and acceptable risk thresholds. Clear communication is key. To overcome these challenges, build your security program with audit readiness in mind from the beginning. Document decisions, use consistent naming conventions, map controls to business objectives, and make sure your team understands not just what controls exist, but why they matter. So, what's your leadership takeaway? When you align your security program with industry standards, you're not just chasing checkboxes, you're showing the world that your organization takes security seriously. During audits or reviews, you serve as the bridge between technical controls and business accountability. As a security leader, your job is to ensure your team is not only compliant, but prepared, responsive, and confident under scrutiny. You're the one who ensures that when questions arise, the answers are ready, and they reflect a security program that's both credible and capable.